So my definition of excellence has more to do with learning from your mistakes and getting better rather than winning every single time. So one thing that I've learned both in college works and at other jobs is to be the best, you need to be consistently learning, growing, and just be a knowledge sponge is the best way that I can put that. So you're not going to win every single time. You need to learn how to accept that. It's just a fact. So figuring out what went wrong is how you can kind of prevent that from happening again. Those are going to be the main things on how to become excellent and continue being excellent.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for hitting that subscription button and for spreading the news. We are here to talk about your future, and we've got a wonderful case study for you today. Gage Ward is here, straight out of Kansas, and he's going to dig into how do you really ensure you get employed right out of college. He's got a great story about that. He's going to talk about failure and the road to excellence being about dealing with failure. And he's going to answer the question, what is professional sales? Welcome to the show and welcome to the Edge of Excellence. Well, Gage Ward, thank you for making time. Welcome to the show and welcome to the Edge of Excellence.
I appreciate you having me on here.
Well, I appreciate you making the time, like I said, and we're going to get deep into things. But before we get into Manhattan, Kansas, Varsity Donuts, and getting 2 degrees, not 1, but 2 degrees, including an MBA. Before we get into professional sales, what professional sales is, and specifically industrial sales distribution, which you found by chance, and how do you find these channels by chance that you're totally passionate about? I got to figure out, Gage, what is your definition of excellence?
Yeah, so my definition of excellence has more to do with learning from your mistakes and getting better rather than winning every single time. So one thing that I've learned both in college works and at other jobs is to be the best, you need to be consistently learning, growing, and just be a knowledge sponge is the best way that I can put that. So you're not going to win every single time. You need to learn how to accept that. It's just a fact. So figuring out what went wrong is how you can kind of prevent that from happening again. Those are going to be the main things on how to become excellent and continue being excellent.
You know, interesting. And someone has got to have said something like that, because that really is maybe the most important part of becoming excellent at anything. Everyone's going to fail. No one wins all the time. Do you learn and grow? And I bet you if you think back, I know when I think back to my worst and toughest year of business, which was when I was a college works branch manager, I don't remember any of the good stuff. I just remember the stuff that was horrible and what I learned from it. And when I look back at my career, I always think about the 3 times I lost all my money and how it changed how I do things. I don't remember. Nobody ever celebrates when they're an entrepreneur. And
Yeah.
Is that the same for you? You think back to all your worst times and that's how you got better?
Yeah, I think it was like 0 and 20 for my first couple of estimates.
Yeah,
It was,
and now you're a professional salesperson. You went
yeah,
from the worst to the first. Okay.
yeah, I was 0 and 20, and then less than a month later, it was middle of production season. I was running 2 full crews, going to estimates all the time while they were working. I think I set the new KC sales record at like 45 grand booked in 1 week.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it was
So, and
huge change.
and same with me. I was the worst at sales. I was a horrible leader. All my workers quit when I was college works guy in the summer. Literally, they quit and stomped out my flowers as they left the barbecue I was having for them. So I totally agree. Learning from your mistakes, you never always win. And the road to success is paved in failures. That's the way you get excellent. You deal with them, grow from them, and move on. But we're gonna get into all that college work stuff. Before we get into the MBAs and finding a cool job and your college works experience and discovering kind of a strange channel for your career that you love so much, I want to go back to high school. I think you were in Liberty. Where is Liberty, Missouri?
Yeah, so Liberty is about 30 minutes northeast of downtown Kansas City.
Okay.
So a little bit out there.
So you weren't that far out there. I mean, out there, Manhattan's out there. You got to drive like 2 hours through the barren wasteland to get, except I love those eagles, those bald eagles. As you pass Topeka, there's bald eagles everywhere. And then you get to
Hmm.
Manhattan, which is, as we all know, an oasis, especially for corn dog lovers. So what was life like when you were in high school? How'd you see yourself? What was your path back then?
Yeah, so I was not as focused on school in high school as I should have been. That's something that I look back on. I'm like, man, I probably should have tried a little bit more then. I was more focused on athletics. I was a captain on our wrestling team, and that took up all of my time. So in the middle of the season, keeping all of my teammates on track and kind of running practices and stuff like that was more my focus than school was. And then in the spring and summertime, I was out there doing other wrestling camps and stuff like that. And during school, that was pretty much the only thing I was thinking about
So
instead of
what did you see was your
grades.
path? Did you think you were going to be, professional wrestler? Was it your way to college? Um, what
Yeah,
was your
so
long-term plan?
I had talked to a couple college recruiters and done visits and stuff like that, and I thought that I was actually going to go up to Simpson College and wrestle, but that just ended up not playing out. I ended up going out to Manhattan to visit K-State, did a campus visit out there, loved it, and then ended up going there instead. But
And did you wrestle there?
I did not. They don't have a wrestling team.
So when you were in high school, you didn't really have a long-term plan yet. You weren't really
Mm-mm.
thinking about career yet. You were enjoying the moment, being the best you could be, learning from your mistakes in sports, maybe not learning from all your mistakes. Were you a bit of a screw off or were you pretty focused?
I mean, I usually got at least B's. So like school was something that always came pretty naturally to me. I didn't really have to study or anything like that. So
Were you
that,
partying like a rock star or was it just be average in school, pretty good, and just doing wrestling and that's my game?
yeah, pretty much. I didn't
Okay.
party much in high school at all.
So you had the blinders on and you weren't thinking long term. And there's a lot of people that listen to this show that maybe don't have a plan yet. I don't even understand how you could. How could you, if you have a plan coming out of high school, I'll say this. If you have a plan coming out of high school, 90% of the time, you're not going to be on that plan 4 years later. You'll change your major, change your goals. That's good. The other 10%, great. And if you have a plan coming out of college, according to the statistics, you're going to change your career 6 times. So if you haven't figured it out yet where you're going, that's okay. And we have some people, there's people I've had on here that were like criminals in high school and went off and became mega CEOs. So you hadn't quite figured it out, but you were still on the straight and narrow. You weren't like me stealing cars and blowing things up. Um, and you went into college and was it kind of is Liberty a small town? No, it's next to
Um,
Kansas. No, it's a bigger town
yeah.
than Manhattan. So you went to the corn dog capital of the world. Shout out to Varsity Donuts. We all love Varsity Donuts. And they're not just a donut place. They have really good corn dogs. So you
And the
went
bacon
there.
grilled cheese mac and cheese is,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, don't get me going. One day Varsity Donuts will hear this and send me some batter. So when you went to college, were you trying to separate yourself in college? Were you figuring out your career right away, or what was that like?
Yeah, so when I first did a tour, I knew that I wanted to get into the school of business. Back then, I mean, during COVID, I worked in a construction company and I'd worked in gyms and stuff like that before. So I was like, I want to own either a gym or a construction company. Those are my main goals, is to start one of those. And so that was kind of the path that I was trying to take, was figure out how to be the best at owning a business and how I can kind of get into that out of college. But starting something like that with no capital wasn't realistic at all.
Do you still want to one day own a gym?
Honestly, I think my viewpoint on that has pretty much switched. Like owning my own business would be awesome, but the job that I'm in now and kind of the path that I've taken it's right for me.
You like that too? Yeah, there's many different ways, many different ways. And so you're in college, you decide you like business. And were you going to be getting an MBA from the start when you went to school, or did you, as you were in school, decide, hey, I'm going to stay here and get an MBA?
Yeah, that was something where I had already gotten a full-time offer from the job that I'm in now. And it was something where I was like, if I want to get into corporate leadership, that's kind of a requirement, is having an MBA or some kind of higher education. So I wanted to take care of that now while I'm young, don't have a family, kids, and everything like that, rather than waiting to go back and do it while I'm.
Did you just say, I just want to make sure I got that? And I didn't know that. I remember you telling me about the gym, but did you just say you're in college, you're going to be getting your business degree, you're in an entrepreneurship major with a minor in sales, and you're going, and you get your career job while you're in college, and you made that career job go on hold for a year while you better prepared for that career job so you could go into leadership and got an MBA. So you approached them and said, thanks for the job. Can you wait a year?
Yeah, so I actually was talking to my boss and he was super understanding about it because I was like, if this is something that I am going to continue going through with, I do want to continue to advance. Like the corporate ladder is something that I am going to climb. I have no doubt about that. It's something where I'm about continuous growth. I'm going to need to get better and grow and not just stay in the same job forever. So, in order to do that, I know at my company, at least, you're going to need some like an MBA or some master's degree of some kind. So, I was kind of talking to him about it. And what I was actually really fortunate for was the capstone course for my MBA. You could either take a class or you can do an internship. So, I was able to do another internship with the company and work for another summer while I was still getting that MBA.
Okay. Okay. So you're in college. You haven't been looking in the distant future. While you're in college, you start looking into the distant and the even distant future. You figure out this career, which we're going to come back to. How did you find this industry? You get the job, talk them into, hey, I'm going to be better for you, and it's going to be better for me if I get an MBA. They go with it, and you go off into this future. So we're going to pause for a second. How in the heck do you find what career you want to do while you're still in college? How'd you find the company? How'd you find the industry?
Yeah, so K-State and their School of Business has a bunch of different career fairs and opportunities where you can talk to employers. They actually have what are called like corporate partners. So companies who donate to the school, they get a chance to come in early and not necessarily handpick, but get a chance to look at the best candidates that the professors and other faculty have set out. So they get a chance to look at the people who are going to be a best fit for them before anybody else does. So my boss was, and my company are corporate partners. So they came out to a banquet for I think it was like 50 students or something like that got selected by the faculty and just met with them one on one. It was almost like blind dating. Like they kind of just moved from table to
Speed
table.
dating, yeah.
Yeah. And when I was talking to him, he was kind of like, hey, after this, come meet me and talk to me a little bit more.
Okay.
So,
Well, we got to
yeah.
pause it. We got to pause again. So this seems second nature. I always say people are really humble and nobody ever realizes, hey, well, some people do, but most people kind of think it's natural that things happen the way they happen. So I just want to flag a couple things. If you're in the car right now and you're listening, hopefully you're on 1.5 speed because my voice sucks on regular speed. But take some notes here. Pull over if you're in the car. Don't write down while you're driving. He went to the career fairs. Not everybody goes to the career fairs, so you get a bonus point for showing up at the career fairs while you're in college. If you're out of college, you can go back to career fairs at your college or at other colleges. But there's something in there that was hidden. There's an early admission thing, a secret group at the career fairs. I didn't even know about. They get to go early and they get to meet the businesses that are really invested in the school, that really care about the students. And to get into that early admission, you have to be set out by the faculty. So you're networking with your faculty, you're staying after class, you're getting to know the teachers, you're investing a little bit more energy than most people while they're in college, which is probably just because who you are, but also, you're giving palms down. You're being a cool student, but also it's setting yourself up for later. So if you're listening right now, it's the 10% extra that makes you excellent. Everybody can do the 90%. It's the 10% extra. So you go in and you do this early admission thing. And you get to go to this banquet with 50 people and this company. And you'd never thought of the industry of industrial sales. Maybe never even knew what a distributor is. So what's a distributor? What the heck is industrial sales? And how did you find this as this perfect match that you're going to change your career for, adjust your education for, and dive into?
Yeah, so a distributor is somebody who works with the manufacturers of components. And because the manufacturers don't have time to make stuff and then also sell them to everybody who they're going to need. So they need like a middleman of sorts to get out, meet with customers who are going to be buying their products and figure out different applications that you can put their components on, be it mobile machines or just other like things in factories that are going to need different components. So we kind of act as the middleman between the manufacturer and then the end user. So industrial sales can encompass literally anything. So if it's used to make something, that's industrial sales. So I specialize in hydraulics, pneumatics, and control systems. So a lot of my time is spent working with different companies who, I mean, for example, one of my bigger customers, they build like crane trucks, boom trucks, stuff like that. So you're going to need hydraulics to raise and lower the cranes, change directions. Some of them can actually get on railroad tracks and drive around, and they have these gigantic cranes that can move around railroad ties, help pick railroad equipment up that's either fallen off of the tracks, stuff like that. So it's a huge industry that not a lot of people know about, but there is some serious money to be made in it.
Okay, so we'll just pause on distribution. Um, there are companies that manufacture, distribute, and retail sell. Usually they're small business.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into big businesses, you either manufacture. Apple does not manufacture. You distribute. Apple doesn't really distribute, I don't think, or you sell. Apple sells. And then they upload all their software. So most companies will specialize in manufacturing and in their making stuff, distributing, getting it out to the retailers or to customers. You can distribute to retail or you can distribute to customers. When you're in that middle place, the distributor, it's about value add. So sometimes you actually add things to the unit. Other times you're doing what Gage is talking about. You're solving problems. So your customers have problems. You solve the problem with the product suite that you have, right?
Yeah. So that is it's kind of funny that you brought up value add. That was something I was going to touch on here in a second. One thing that kind of makes my company different than a lot of the other hydraulic and
What's your
pneumatic
company called?
distributors,
What's your company
it's called Engineered Sales.
Engineered Sales. Shout out to Engineered Sales. And by the way, if you want to hook up with Gage, you can find him on LinkedIn, Gage Ward. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the huge value add things is we have an entire team of engineers who specialize in those products and those systems. So let's say a customer is like, hey, we have this need XYZ. What can you guys come up with to help us solve this problem? So we can actually go in and design systems that are either going to integrate with their current machinery or just a brand new machine that nobody's ever seen before.
So you're taking you're helping your manufacturing partners as well. You're finding uses for their product that maybe they haven't even thought about. You're double problem solving.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's something that not a lot of the other distributors have, which really gives us an edge.
And if you're listening right now, Gage has got the business background. He wanted to go into business. There are a lot of engineers that would work in your position too. A lot of people that are in distribution of high-tech products like hydraulic systems or like HVAC systems or like technology systems that may have an engineering background. When they go into this type of sales, you can go either way. But I bet you had to learn some engineering when you got into that sales.
Yeah, I've worked on cars and bikes my entire life. So like I'm pretty mechanically inclined, but hydraulics was something that I had no idea about. So that was a big hiccup that I ran into, and kind of touching back on learning from your mistakes and being a knowledge sponge is when I first got into it, especially my internship, I had no idea what I was doing. And that was a huge barrier when I was talking to engineers and customers who know what they're talking about, because it's not really something where you can fake it till you make it. Like you need to know what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
And they can see right through it. So yeah, I went through and did a bunch of trainings, bunch of classes, got certified as a hydraulic specialist. And that was something that was pretty huge. That was a huge step.
Okay. So part of your path, and just back to your path, to have no idea what you're doing, go to a new city in a new state, no idea, work 10% harder to get known by the faculty, 10% harder to get better grades, 10% harder to go to the career fairs. All of a sudden you meet this business and this new industry that you never thought of before. And then you come home before you got hired after the banquet. you came home and probably put some time in. You didn't go have beers with your buddies, right?
I might have celebrated a little bit after that.
Celebrate and then research. So that's the other nasty truth here. Gage is a hard worker. Gage was a hard worker in high school. I was a hard worker in high school. Gage was a hard worker in college, and we'll get into that in a second. I was a hard worker in college. Gage is still a hard worker. I'm still a hard worker. It takes, no matter how smart you are, no matter what you know, no matter what your exposure is, without the hard work, you can't go anywhere. Think about it. MBA, all these certifications you just said. While he's just starting his career, he just got done with college. That's what it takes. So back to college again, real quick, and I appreciate that. That was cool. Cool little digression. When did you start to figure out you needed to really work hard to get ahead and land these type of jobs when you're in college?
Yeah, that was something where K-State does a really good job of making sure that college isn't the end. You need to set yourself up to get a good job. You need to do XYZ to set yourself apart, and they offer a lot of really good opportunities to help those students who maybe don't already have those skills or don't know how to handle job interviews or communication skills, stuff like that. So that was really, really a good driver for a lot of students, but that's always something where I've known that I want to get a good job. So I kind of know that I'm going to need to work harder than everybody else to set myself apart.
Okay. And again, your school has it too. If you're out of school, your community has it too. You got to go find it and use it. Interview practice, resume workshops, get your stuff dialed in. Don't just go out and do interviews when you've never done interviews before. And so you're in college, you're studying business, studying entrepreneurship, you're not even thinking about the MBA, and then you did the College Works thing. So tell us a little bit about the College Works thing. What did you get out of that and why'd you do it?
Yeah, so big reason why I did it was my DM, Ashton Avery, came in and into one of my classes, and he was a K-State student at the time as well. And
did he sneakily slide in, like slither in, because got that little thing to him? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
he walked in, got permission, but we know what he was doing.
He might have schmoozed the teacher just a little bit to get in.
Yeah, we know that.
Just a touch, but yeah, so he came in. I really liked what he was talking about. Honestly, the fact that I could make a bunch of money in a summer was the big thing that caught my attention. And then after I started talking to him about it, I was like, oh, I'm an entrepreneurship student. This is literally a chance to trial run my own business. So that was something where I was like, all right, let's give this a shot. And then got through the interview process and then came to—
What year were you in school?
Pardon?
Year were you in school?
So I got there fall of 2018, graduated.
What year were you in school when you did college work?
Oh, that would have been 2020.
So you're a sophomore.
Oh, I guess I would have been summer of 21 then. I was a junior.
You were a junior. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But
you found Ashton, thought you'd try it out as a junior.
Mm-hmm,
what happened?
Yep.
You sucked. You sucked just like me.
Yeah, definitely didn't do as good as I wanted to out of the gate. But pretty much just kept rolling from there, learning from the mistakes.
Yeah.
And then we had a couple different—
You weren't winning. You picked yourself up. You dusted yourself off. You analyzed. You went back at it. Suck some more. Pick yourself up. Dust yourself off. Back at it, which you're still doing today. And then what happened?
Yeah. So he came in and talked about it. I liked I liked what he was talking about. The money was a big thing. And so we went to the spring training, and I was kind of it was cementing the fact that this is what I was wanting to do. Got into it, did the estimate training, and from there, whenever I started going out, getting leads, and then doing those estimates, things just went horribly. I went 0-20, and it was something where I was really starting to beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
And me and Ashton sat down and talked about it, and he was like, "What is going wrong? Like, what are the things that you've picked up on that aren't working?" And we kind of went through, dialed in exactly what I was going to need to change, why things weren't working. And then the next times that I started going out and implementing that, I started seeing those successes, started seeing what worked, learning from what worked, and then just kept progressing from there, and it just kept growing.
That was my exact experience. And I think you and I, this is, if you're listening right now, you think you're good until you try it, right? I think I'm good at everything. And then I try it like, oh, I mean, everybody told me all my life, you should be a lawyer. You got the gift of gab. I know you're the same. I know you're the same. And then we try it. And these people that we think we're better than that then are kicking our butts. So back to your definition of excellence, you're not winning all the time. You got to learn to grow from your failures. And sometimes you got to suck it up and realize that maybe I'm not what I was, but you figured out the sales, you figured out the production. You just worked 1 year. Did you come back a second year?
I did not.
Okay. I know I talked to you about it though.
Yeah.
We wanted you back a second year. We wanted to keep you in the cult. And so your second year is when you went and worked for this company that you work for now.
Correct.
All right. And so you didn't need the engineering experience maybe because you had the sales experience. And would someone that had engineering experience without sales experience have also been hired by that company or no?
For an engineering role, maybe. One thing that because I've been doing a lot of the recruiting now, I'm the one who goes out to the career fairs and talks to the students. One thing that I look for is engineers who can talk and have effective communication skills do really well in this industry.
Yeah.
Because they're really mechanically inclined. They know at least they have a base understanding of kind of how these things are working, these systems. And if you can do sales and you already have that information and that background knowledge, you can do very, very well.
Awesome. Yeah, I hear that all the time. There's a lot of engineers that can do great with engineering. There's a few that can do both. It's a different side of your mind. If you take a DISC test, we have an episode on DISC tests. S's and C's are the engineers. D's and I's are the salespeople. But sometimes you get a DC or an IC, and those people, they're ambidextrous. They can do anything. I'm not one of those people. That's why I'm not a lawyer or an engineer. So you're done with college. You're done with College Works. You get into this business. And so tell us what people, they tell me, I want to get into professional sales. What's it like? What do you do? What's the job that you have in industrial sales?
Yeah, so a lot of my customers range from either really small family businesses to massive companies. So each one of those different customers is going to have a different set of people that you're going to be meeting with, be that it's the owner of a company who's been in his family for years, they have like 20 employees, or you're meeting with C-suite level executives, lead engineers, project managers, stuff like that. So it really just depends on the customer, but kind of usually a day in my life is like Mondays and Fridays are going to be days that I'm catching up on paperwork, working on projects. That's going to be the days when I'm sitting down in the office, actually working with schematics and looking at things that I'm going to try and implement. And then usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm out meeting with customers, talking to them, trying to find problems I can solve or putting out fires, things of that nature. So it really varies.
Where do the customers come from?
Yeah. So in this industry, my company has been around for about, probably 60 years now. So we kind of already had an established book of business, and we had somebody who left right before I got there. So I kind of took in all of those accounts and started managing those, repairing any relationships that needed to be repaired, and kind of trying to figure out where I can help. And then when it comes to new customers, that's something where you kind of got to go scout, look for people who are going to be using these products, getting in, meeting with them. Getting your foot in the door is really the hardest thing. A lot of people don't want to meet with sales guys. That's kind of just point blank what it is. So getting those meetings and showing them why they should talk to you, how you're going to be able to help them, is a huge skill to have too.
A lot of salespeople don't think of it that way. They think, get in, show them what I can give them, show them what I can tell them, show them what I've got. It's a different attitude in an excellent salesperson. And you said it a bunch of times. I can help, show them how I can help, what I can do to help. Who's not going to want to create a relationship with someone focused on helping them? Now, you're not going to want a relationship with someone focused on helping themselves. But when you have a reputation, and I know you do, and you have a character, and I know you do, and you really have a passion for it, and I know you do, of going out there and solving problems. That's pretty fun, keeps life interesting. Solving other people's problems, paying it forward, creating good karma for yourself. So basically, you've got a varied customer base. You're project managing, organizing your time, perseverance, people skills, but really it's got to be that attitude of how am I going to help? And that's what I think most people miss. It's about helping and problem solving. So when you look back at your life, is there anything else you want to say about industrial sales, the path to industrial sales, the awesomeness of industrial sales?
Yeah, it's an industry where there's a lot of older people who are in it that are starting to retire. There's not a lot of younger folks in it, and there's a lot of job opportunities for people coming out of college where you can make a lot of money. Not a lot of people know about. So it's definitely something to look into.
And the passion found you. You got lucky. So luckiness, by the way, is when opportunity meets preparation. So you were prepared, you were focused, you're meeting the teachers, you're doing all this stuff to create your own luck, but you ran into somebody that kind of tugged at your passions already. You liked doing all that stuff, and someone else likes the building computers, and someone else likes whatever it is. If you're out there and paying attention, right? You're paying attention, your ears are up, and you're looking for that match. You have to actively be doing it. So we brushed over some of these things, but if you're thinking about it, usually it's not the first company you find. Usually it's 100 companies. Usually you have to research hours and hours, 100 hours, 1,000 hours to figure out what industries are fit you. But you got lucky there, but you put in your time elsewhere. There's no way to get, and everybody tells me this. I've had so many college graduates, recent college graduates tell me, no, Maddie B, no, Mr. Stewart, no, Dad, no, Dad. It doesn't work that way. You can go find a job, and maybe the first person you interview with is who you get hired. It never works that way, except for you, Gage. You're the only one I've ever heard. But you still had to put in hard work, and you still put in hard work. And you made some sacrifices along the way. So when you look back, this is my favorite question. What was a sacrifice that you made? And at the time, you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is such a bummer. But you look back and you're like, oh, I'm so glad I made that sacrifice.
Yeah, so in college, I wasn't somebody whose parents were able to pay for everything for them. So I was paying a lot for myself. Like I was paying rent, food, groceries, everything. And the biggest sacrifice that I had to make was taking less hours at the job that I was working in order to go home, do estimates, and set myself up for a good summer during my college works internship. And having less time to go out with my friends, parties, stuff like that, and also having to make some sacrifices as far as I have less disposable income. That was a big hit at the time. And it really ended up paying off later that summer when I started to finish jobs and then get those checks from customers after the job was done. And it was something where I didn't really see it at the time, especially when I went 0 and 20. I was like, man, I'm putting in all this time, all this effort. I'm missing out. Why am I doing this? But then once you stick it out and you see the results, you see the benefits of doing that, that's when you kind of start to realize, okay, this is why it was worth it. And that's something that I definitely don't regret doing.
It's kind of burning the bridge, right? You got to cut your hours and invest. So there are people that will do college works and they don't cut the hours. So they don't put the time into college works and they don't get that experience. You got to, I did the same thing. I didn't have a job, but my parents gave me, I think it was $200 a month. And I kind of ran out of money and I would get my mom to advance me things. So I had $200 a month to live on. And I got her to give me all the $200 a month up front. And I spent that on cold callers. And then I had no money for gas, no money for anything, no money for food. I ate pasta like 30 straight days, 3 meals a day, pasta with butter or potatoes. Those are the two things I could. And like, thank God I did that. Thank God I didn't try to have a side job. I mean, you can have a side job for 10 hours a week and do college works or get it out of college works. You can be in college and have a side job and an internship. You can be in a professional career right now and invest the time that Gage is talking about to find a better career or a different career. You can be in a professional career and volunteer. It's just hard. You got to make a choice. And so you had to sacrifice some time with these people. But now You had that entrepreneurship degree. Now you have an entrepreneurial career. Now you use all your entrepreneurship skills and passion and apply it to all the cool stuff you like doing when you were a kid. You get to control your time. You get to control who you hang out with. I'm sure there's been some customers you didn't want to hang out with, so you didn't do a good pitch for them because you paid the piper early. Well, I love that. And life's full of choices. I guess it's not a sacrifice. It's a long-term choice you made. And now you have more freedom for it. Well, Gage,
yeah, that was something where going back to my childhood, my mom always said, life's all about choices. Like if you saw somebody who's like, let's say, lost a job because they did something dumb, my mom would look at that and be like, hey, to me and my siblings would be like, hey, life's all about choices. Learn from this. And that was something that really stuck.
All right. Well, shout out to Melody. And before we let you go, what's the website for Engineered Sales in case we have any engineers looking for positions listening or people that think they are ready to be the next great salesperson? What's the website?
Yeah. So it's just engineeredsales.com.
Engineeredsales.com. You can find Gage Ward, Gage-Ward on LinkedIn. Gage, thank you so much for making time for the show today and sharing all your wisdom on the edge of excellence.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.